I'm going to move on to Paul, if you would unmute. Let's have your question.
Okay, I had to cut mine back a little bit because it was too long. Anyway, my name is Paul Gehrmann, and I moved into your constituency last May. And I've only become interested in politics on both the federal and provincial level about 5 years ago. And with watching close, I've noticed that since the start of COVID, everything has almost come to a standstill. Services seem to take forever, and it is not unusual to spend half a day on the phone on hold for only 2 phone calls. As my provincial representative in the legislature, I count on you and your office to provide me with information that I find useful and important. As I don't believe that the media is giving us real data, I'm interested in actual numbers, not the ones that people are being fed via media. Can I count on you to provide me with actual data in a timely fashion? As you know, information changes so quickly lately. We've seen that yesterday. So it is important for me to get up-to-date and accurate information quickly, and I believe that your office should have relatively easy access to it. Now, with you having limited time today, I would like to get an idea how you feel about some of the legislation changes that are being proposed or promoted. One of the items that concern me is Bill 70. I assume you're familiar with Bill 70. Due to the time limitations, I can't go into the long paragraph that I was going to talk about, but I can't list all the transgressions that have happened, especially in the beginning of this health crisis. If I'm not mistaken, you've sat in this government during this whole time. Have you at any time had an opportunity to speak up about some blatant abuses of government, or has it ever made you question what's going on? And at what time did you have an opportunity to distance yourself from this? How do you see Bill 70? If I could get an answer from you within under 5 minutes, please.
Well, I'll see the best that I can, Paul. Where did you move from into our area? Where did you come from?
I came from St. Albert.
Okay, perfect. And you chose to retire out here, or are you still conducting business, or?
I still conduct small business. Obviously, right now it's running at low throttle.
And what, if you don't mind me asking, sir, well, firstly, welcome to the community and to the area. I promote God's country a lot, so I'm glad to see folks are coming out this direction, because I think with COVID and everything else, there's been a heightened appreciation for some of the freedoms we have out here. So what is your business, if you don't mind me asking? What are you still working on?
I import a filtration system from Germany for nail techs, and I distribute all over North America.
Oh, fantastic. And filtration for what? Sorry, it broke up there. Is it water, or is it oil, gas? What?
Fingernails.
Oh, fingernails.
Dust.
Oh, okay. So the acrylic dust.
Yes. Okay,
perfect. In regards to the services being slow, I think we've seen that there's been a bit of a transition. Like as we try to work through this, a lot of workforce has been displaced. There's been tons of instances where you can't get a hold of somebody, or they're trying out new systems. So I don't think that's specific to one area. I don't know don't for certain know which specific companies you're dealing with. I think at the initial stages, it was a lot more tough on businesses to try to pivot and articulate or to move into that. I think they're getting better, but if we play our cards right, hopefully we won't have to put up with this too much longer. What I have heard, which was counterintuitive to me, because typically when you've got people together in a working environment, you get higher productivities. My concern was when you start displacing the workforce, that the productivities might drop down. Some of the businesses actually are looking on that. They've seen either the same or some increased productivities depending on the industry. So it depends on which role or which model. The other one that's a bit disconcerting is that if you're calling a customer service line, they may not be in our area or region, but I think that's kind of endemic depending on which industry. I think we've all experienced that with TELUS in the past, or at least I have, when you call to a call center and it's a little bit different. As far as, and if I miss anything, Paul, please come back to me on this. I tried to write it down as quick as I could. As far as getting accurate and timely information, yeah, we're trying to do the same thing. Again, to your point, there's things that change, there's moving items. As a private member of the government caucus, I'm not speaking on behalf of government. Again, I'm not a cabinet member, I'm not the premier, I'm not any of the ministers. So we have certain areas of influence that we take forward. What some folks fail to recognize is that as the MLA, the election's over. So I'm with United Conservative Party. I managed to run against an NDP former minister and win that seat. This is my first foray into politics. I've never done this before. I, like you, Paul, wasn't interested in politics until I'd seen the turns in 2014, quite frankly, in 2015 predominantly. And the industry that I worked in became more and more under attack, et cetera. And then no different than you, I decided to show up to a meeting and see what this whole political thing was about, see what I could do to help out. And lo and behold, here I am. So the folks in my area decided that from the conservative side of the spectrum, they voted me in. Once you're elected, though, you have to represent not only the folks that voted you in, the ones that didn't vote you in, and the ones that didn't vote at all. So that's where I find myself oftentimes having some dialogues where folks are saying, well, you're not specifically doing what we would say or what you would do. And the other thing that I find difficult and challenging sometimes is a lot of folks want somebody that they elect to represent them and fight for them, but they don't realize that sometimes they fight back. And with that, you've got somebody here who is a pipeline or a construction guy that went in here to the ring and is representing you. And I will do that in a different way from my experience that's potentially different than some of my colleagues. Where I worked and operated was more of a corporate environment. When you really wanted to see things where the fur flied, it was during a shutdown on a plant site where you've got hundreds of millions of dollars. Those type of conversations can get very boisterous and let's say a knife fight type idea when you've got operations and capital projects guys in a room trying to get things back up and running. So the best way I can say is that the way I represent you is at a professional level, bringing those skills and those things in there. If I didn't feel that our voices weren't being heard, if I didn't have a position at that table, or if I couldn't clearly articulate my position and lobby for it, then I might operate in a different element and environment. And over the 2 years it's taken me that, I can literally pick up the phone and reach the chief of staff. I can be on those one-to-one relations with the ministers and I can influence. But no different than you might give me your opinion and your decisions on it, but ultimately somebody else has to make the final decision. And the frustrating part for me, quite frankly, being A-type personality and making a lot of decisions in the past, is I don't get to make all the decisions I want. So sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. And what folks may not realize is how much effort goes into meeting common ground or expressing those interests to get where we're at.
Okay.
What did I miss there?
Well, your 5 minutes.
Sorry.
Your 5 minutes are up on that one, so we're going to move on.
I just wanted to make sure I got all Paul's items there. Sorry if I missed it, Paul.
I'll get back to you on the Bill 70.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe just for edification, it might come up with other folks here too, and it might answer some other questions in the idea of time. When a bill is proposed, it doesn't go before the House until first reading. So they can contemplate and kind of talk about what may or may not be out there. And then there's private members' bills, and then there's government bills. And when they first introduce it into the House, it's essentially saying here, it's going to be introduced. And then it goes to second, third, and then fourth reading basically in committee of the whole. When it reaches committee of the whole, that's where a lot of you can actually take off your suit jacket and move around in there freely. And it's kind of speaks volumes to how the bills are presented, because that's where you roll up your shirt sleeves and really get to work on it. That's where most of the addendum and other items will come out, and it'll be debated back and forth. And during normal course, it's very lengthy. You'll spend hours and hours and hours, and literally every member in the House has a chance to speak to that bill at about 4 different occasions. So it's not without a darn lengthy process that it goes through. And where I find that there's some confusion in myself the same way is that when you see the bill, how it's proposed in the paper, that it might come out with a news flash, doesn't mean it's reached royal assent. So there's a lot of work and deliberation that goes in to get there. So hopefully that puts it in context. And then we as MLAs try to solicit as much feedback as possible from constituents like yourself if there are concerns, so that we can take that into the House. And that's why I hold a lot of those town halls and do that type of thing to get that feedback, so I can honestly stand in there what the opinions are. And also the other one too is you get what you buy for, or you get what you bought. I'll also bring my own decisions and some of that to the process as well, again, for that lens of the MLA for everybody, not just the folks that voted me in.
Very good. Okay, thank you for that. And perhaps a suggestion is that some of the bills that are of concern and are being read currently, if you're open to it, I'm certain that many of the constituents would love to be on those town halls with you.
Yeah, and that's why we hold those town halls. And, quite frankly, I called it What Matters to You for a reason. That was right from the campaign from day one. Because again, my background only has so much, and there's a lot of moving parts here. I was really surprised of how many things were falling through the cracks where the MLA gets in. And I kind of feel like some days like the juggler, other days like that guy pushing the broom behind the elephant after the parade. But it's literally, you're trying to figure out where you guys see things that fall through the cracks. So yeah, please keep the comments coming and please participate on those, because it's the only way I honestly get to see people, rather than letter writing campaigns or spam notes or all the other things that take place.
Okay, so you'll let us know how we get on those.
Well, they're posted, Carla, to your point, they're posted on Facebook. I put ads in the paper, call my office and register. That's the best way we've seen it so far.
And we maybe have the option to put together our own if we have specific concerns about a particular bill.
Yeah, I would entertain this, absolutely. So yeah. Again, okay. It works to be able to facilitate that with where we're at now. It's very difficult to talk to people. And, you know, if you have information in advance, then I can go research it, make sure we got the information so we don't spin our wheels. So absolutely, this is a good environment. As long as we keep it on this tone, the way it's going now, I'd give you guys all the time in the day to do this.
Well, we have very good people here, Shane. So